Welcome to F1 Rolling Start. I'm James.
I'm Ben.
And we are here to recap the Italian race at Monza.
What a race.
The Formula One Grand Prix was absolutely incredible. Grazie a mille Ferrari. Charles Leclerc. We are pumped because now we know that you can win a Formula race solely on good vibes and pasta power.
That's literally what Ferrari did. First off, they weren't supposed to win. They brought a ton of upgrades this race, as they often do, because even if they're not going to win the season, at least they want to try to win Monza. But
they were nowhere. They were nowhere in practice. They were they qualified okay, but it looked like it looked like it was going to be between McLaren and Mercedes was going to push through.
Oh yeah. And then at lap like 43, I think you and I both we were watching in different places. Both of us were like, "Wait a second. Are they just doing the one stop? Are they just going to like
100%
mathematically try to be like, okay, we're 15 seconds ahead of McLaren. There's no way they're going to gain on us a lap, a second a lap. Let's just keep Chuck out."
Well, yeah, because they bring Oscar in and the commentator's like, okay, they're going to undercut Ferrari. And then Oscar goes out and I go, I don't think Ferrari's coming in. I think Chuck is sending this.
Yes.
I think he's going hard. And he's just saying, screw the tires. If they fall off, they fall off. This is Monza. I'm driving for the Tifosi.
Yes.
They are going to will me on into winning this GP.
I mean, and here's the thing, too. And I'm going to go back to Belgium real quick. Russ did the same thing in Belgium, where he just 100%. Said, I'm ahead. I think there's a shot. I can go for it. Why wouldn't I take a shot at P1 when if I come in and freaking pit, I'm going to be like P6, P7? Like,
yes.
Just let me go for P1. And I wonder why more teams don't do that. Like, it's really hard to gain a second a lap on someone, even if they've got older tires. And we saw that today. Oscar did chase Chuck down. He ended about 2 seconds behind him.
Totally.
He still ended 2 seconds behind him.
Yes.
And so why don't more teams just say, screw it, let's just do the freaking one stop?
Dude, I mean, they pulled a rabbit out of a hat today. It was a Hail Mary.
Yeah, I was going to say the sky's open. The sky's actually closed. The clouds covered. The track temperature went down 10 degrees. I mean,
it was ridiculous. Wild. It was a one-stop strategy. And throughout the weekend, we all thought it was going to be a one-stop race, except everyone went out there and their tires were just getting like through the cheese grater.
It was like 120 degrees on the track or some insanity.
It was brutal.
Qualifying.
It was really something special to watch. It was the first time this year I was like, man, I really, really, really wish I was there. They have those commentator mics. Have you seen the commentator mics? They're like you hold them up against your mouth.
Yeah.
And they're single directional mics.
Mm-hmm. So
as you have to talk directly into them and hold them on your lip. And they actually have this little like bar that bounces on your lip. And because you have to be super close in order to pick you up because of the amount of noise that is at a racetrack, the engines and all of those kind of things.
Yeah.
So you can't really hear much of what's going on in the outside world. You think about that when you listen to Ted, who's like trackside, you can hear some stuff, but Crofty, who's in the box, air conditioned, feeling all of the love of modern amenities.
Of course.
When Chuck was going down the main straight in front of the pit lane and all of the commentators, you could see the crowd absolutely losing their minds.
You could
hear it. And the commentators were saying, you may be able to hear this. We feel this.
Yes.
We feel this as they go by.
And you're not going to be a Ferrari fan next year with your boy Hamilton.
Ben is convinced that I'm going to next year.
I'm
already drinking Peroni.
So much.
I'm already drinking Peroni.
You love Italy so much. Why, dude? I mean,
I love the color red. I love the color red.
Red doesn't look good on me. I'm sure it looks good on you.
I wear red all the time.
I mean, it looked incredible. It's what you want. You want Chuck to win at Monaco, which he did. You want Ferrari to win at Monza, which they have. I mean, it's just you want three teams to all have over 400 points, all fighting for the Constructors' Championship. This is incredible.
This is what we have. I mean, Leclerc nailed the risky one stop.
Yep.
Huge win in front of the home crowd. Sainz struggled to keep that same kind of tire management that Chuck had. I mean, I'm sure there were a myriad of different elements that would have gone into that. But he still came home P4, solid amount of points. Matter of fact, it brought them into really close contention with both Red Bull and McLaren now. We are in a season where when it started, we said this is a repeat of 2023.
We did.
And now we are looking at 3 different constructors that could take the world championship this year. We haven't experienced this kind of competition for, I don't even actually, I'd have to look back to when it was 3 different teams. Definitely not in the Red Bull Mercedes era. That's for sure.
Absolutely. No, I mean, it's unreal what this season has turned into. And everyone in the F1 world is giddy about it.
Yes.
Because we were those who were not Red Bull fans last year were depressed
100%
because of how dominant Red Bull was. I did a quick look at where Red Bull ended last year in the constructors. They were 451 points ahead of second place Mercedes.
And how many points did Mercedes have?
Mercedes had 409.
Okay, so they had less points than Red Bull was ahead them. So Red Bull had more than double the amount of points that Mercedes had.
Yes.
So they won the constructors twice.
They won the constructors twice. And now Red Bull is 446.
Yes.
McLaren is 8 points back at 438. Ferrari is at 407. My God. Like you can't make this stuff up.
No.
And I think the F1 world is there's just this giddy, almost childish kind of glee that like, wow, we have a season on our hands. And it's 100%. A gift. We didn't expect it, but it's a gift. We'll take it.
100%. I mean, Ferrari just showed today that if you've got strategy and you've got pace, you can win on your home soil.
Yeah. Can we talk about strategy for a second?
Let's do it.
When was the last time we praised Ferrari for their strategy?
That is a great question, because had this not have worked out,
we'd be blasting
them. We'd be blasting them.
Chuck was in
Freddie
the wall,
V, what are you doing? Now Freddie V is a god in Italy.
Oh, yeah. He went from being possible goner to now a god. Where imagine if Chuck, he's on these old tires, he does what, I don't know, Antonelli did and just freaking goes
sends it.
The wall.
Yep.
And they
can't make a turn at 300 kilometers an hour.
But Ferrari, they rolled the dice. They had a strategy, and it paid off. And it's great to say Ferrari had good strategy, because we've missed saying that for a while.
We have missed saying that. And we haven't been able to say it about the next team we're going to talk about as much as we would like. And that is McLaren. McLaren today had all of it lined up. Yeah. They had all of it laid out, and they fumbled the ball.
So I'm gonna talk about Piastri for a second. We love
Oscar. Mate, you're doing a great job. Just want to let you know you're absolutely phenomenal. Keep it up, the good work, mate. It's fully tops.
We've talked about the Aussie in his second season, his just ice cold, cool, calm, collective demeanor, and how this guy is no drama, no frills, and he just goes racing.
Yep.
Today, at turn 4 on lap 1, when McLaren has a 1-2 lockout, lap 1, he overtakes Lando. And it wasn't on a straight. It was
the best overtake we've seen all year.
It was just in a corner, and I feel like Lando, all the commentators are Crofty even as well. It's like, wait,
what just happened?
Wasn't expecting it. And Lando, I think, was expecting to maintain the 1-2 going through the first couple laps. That didn't happen. And so I think my question,
not even through the first couple laps, just through that corner. Like, no, we don't see people overtake on that corner. Like, that was nuts.
It was. Now here's my question to you.
There was no room. He couldn't fight.
No, there wasn't at
Piastri.
all. They almost touched. Imagine the two of them touching. Imagine them. One of them gets a puncture. Travesty. Was that ballsy? Was that a rookie mistake? Did McLaren sacrifice the win because Piastri didn't play the 1-2 game.
Well, here's the thing. So McLaren has been saying over and over that they have 2 number 1 drivers.
They do.
They definitely do.
They do.
Which means in Formula one number 1 driver and number 2 driver, it's not really supposed to be a thing. That's why you saw that like whole thing go down with Valtteri and Lewis.
Yeah.
Where they kept accusing Valtteri of being or commentating how he's the number 2 driver. And he just got so fed up. He ended up starting like just blasting people. But the reality is that they actually do have 2 number 1 drivers, like you said. However, when it comes to this world championship,
yes,
there is no way Oscar can win this world championship this year.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way.
They were in 1 and 2. Lando has to outscore Max by a minimum of 8 points every single race. It is a tall order. Today, Max started in 8th place or 7th?
7th place.
7th place. Mm-hmm. That's probably not going to happen for the rest of the season. Most likely. I mean, that could be an argument there in and of itself.
Yeah.
But
we'll get to Red Bull in a sec with that.
The point is,
Oscar's at 179 points right now in 4th place, and Max is at 303.
Exactly.
He's not going to catch him.
No, he's not catching him.
No.
They had Norris and Piastri in 1st place. They need to prioritize Norris right now. They are clearly, as a team, operating at a pace from a car perspective and organizationally to be able to win this constructors this year if they are smart about it. I don't understand
the drivers' championship.
I don't understand why this is a thing. Why they haven't said, no, you are our number 1 driver, but right now you can't win the drivers' championship this year. So we are going to prioritize Lando. Now, fair or not, what if it's flip-flop next year?
Yeah.
Because on pace and on merit today, Piastri was better. Mm-hmm. Piastri was driving better. He was getting more out of the car. There was one point where they were talking about something else, and he banged out 4 of the fastest laps in a row. Yeah, it just kept saying Piastri, Piastri, because
he was chasing Chuck.
It was when he was at the front of the pack. Because Papaya came on and said his Papaya rules, which means Lando, you can overtake him, and all of a sudden, Piastri's like, hell nah, and just puts the flipping pedal to the back, goes full Dom Toretto on him, and just loses it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the tension that I think as fans we're kind of navigating right now. We want to see racing. We want to see the competition, but there's also a larger competition that we really want to see. We want to see someone go after the drivers' championship.
100%.
It's great when you've got 2 teammates who are duking it out.
100%.
It's better when you've got 2 rivals.
Correct.
We want to see McLaren take it to Red Bull. They'll take it to the constructors. They're probably going to win that because they're only 8 points back. But we want to see someone take it to Max. Yeah. The only way you can do that is what you're saying. If McLaren says, Oscar, 100%. We love you. You're number 1. You're our favorite. But guess what? Lando actually has a shot at this. You don't. So in a situation when Lando's number 1 and you're number 2, don't overtake him on the corner in like the slow corner. Like, my God, like if you're way faster than him, we'll talk about that when we get to it. But like, give him a couple laps, back up the pack 100%. A little bit. Like, be a team player, right?
100%.
Here's the thing. Going back to Hungary, they told Lando, you will need Oscar in order to win.
Yep.
Be a team player now. He'll be a team player then.
Yep.
That didn't happen today.
No.
First chance Oscar got, he overtook him. Now, again,
first micro chance he got.
I mean, there was no...
It wasn't even with DRS down the main straight, which is technically what I assume Papaya rules would be. Hey, if it's safe, you're not going to make contact, and it's not aggressive, you can race. Not going into a turn where if we're 1 inch apart. Now, if they were on different teams, I'm here for it all day.
Oh, yeah.
But this is also, I'm about the race, but I'm also about the whole team sport.
It's about strategy as well. And when you're, here's what Hungary and then today reinforced. McLaren is not going for the drivers' championship.
Agreed.
They're going for constructors. They'll get that. They are not going for drivers' championship. I don't know why they're not. Because they could. Imagine for a second, Lando wins in Hungary. That's 8 more points.
Yep.
Imagine for a second, Lando wins today. now you are literally within a striking
stone's
distance
throw
of Max.
But instead of that, you're looking at Max at 303 points. You're looking at Lando at 241, and now Charles Leclerc at 217. And where's Piastri? Trailing behind, hasn't even touched 200 yet.
Yeah.
Why
Chuck
are we
might
doing
catch
this?
Lando.
Chuck could catch Lando. So now we're not looking at Lando versus Max. We're looking at P2 and P3.
Yeah. Which
it was a massive miss for McLaren. And honestly, it hasn't been making sense to me what they've been doing and why they haven't prioritized Lando since before the summer break.
Yeah. Part of me is wondering if this is a Zach Brown philosophy. And I love Zach Brown. We love Zach Brown. He's
good old Zachy.
He's the American in it. F1 keeps trying to say that he's like European by now. Go pound it. He's not. He's American, and he is rocking this sport. But I think Zach Brown from Top Down.
They're just mad because he made the sport so much better.
I know. Of course he did.
The American couldn't possibly make this sport better.
Guess what? He has. His philosophy is, no, we've got the best driver lineup. They do. Both number one. That's great. I love that. I'm
100%.
Here for it. When you've got a shot to beat Max and to win drivers, you got to prioritize one
And they did
guy.
this, this is another third rail of Formula One right now. I mean, this is like Checo last year with Max. He started the season out neck and neck with Max, and they let them race and they let them go for it. But then it came to a point where it was clear that Checo was not going to win this championship.
Yeah.
So they defaulted to Max.
Of course.
They should be doing the same thing now. We are 9 races out from the end of the season. It is statistically almost impossible for Oscar to win the Drivers' World Championship.
Yeah, Max would have to crash out every single race. It's not going to happen.
It would be insane. You need to just go, okay, great. You've won a race this year.
Yeah.
You're driving incredibly. Everyone on the field wants you. There's no question about that. Yeah. You're your second year in. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
We signed you. We're keeping you. Just chill out, bro, and let Lando go because he's gonna beat you either way.
Yeah. But that's not what happened. And do you think Oscar taking or overtaking Lando cost them P1, P2 today?
I don't know if you could say that definitively. However, I do believe
if they had played the team game and
they played the team game,
pulled out some distance, let Lando get ahead,
Ferrari wouldn't have been in a position to risk a 1-stop.
Yeah.
They most likely would have defaulted to a 2-stop. I think because they did what they did, Ferrari stepped out and took a risk to win at Monza. And because they did a ballsy move, they could. There are many different things. Had Oscar not done that, Lando wouldn't have been he was pissed.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Dude, he came in so hot to the box. He hit the bollard, almost got a speeding infringement in the pit lane. He was off his face, man.
And I think rightfully so.
He said it in the post interviews.
Yeah.
He got way too close to me. We could have crashed. It wasn't worth the risk.
No, of course, yeah. It wasn't the spot to overtake. But
if this was first 5 races, I'd be like, suck it up, Lando. This is your fault for being on a team that puts 2 number 1 drivers together. And this is the way it should be. But
we're in the home stretch.
Yeah.
Well, there went our bet from last week that McLaren was going to have a 1-2.
They didn't. They got a 2-3 instead.
They got 2-3.
A good haul of points. I just think it's just not what they need to be doing right now. Red Bull or Red Bust? Dude. Holy crap, how the mighty have fallen.
Is lost.
It is.
And it's
dripping with drama. It is.
Max was 37.9 seconds behind Chuck in first place.
They were nowhere for Red Bull. It was embarrassing. How do you feel as a Red Bull fan?
I felt a lot of feelings this season as a Red Bull fan. Do you remember the start of the season?
Welcome to my world.
I know, but Red Bull has had a doozy of a season.
Yeah, it has been.
So I've had to navigate quite a bit of tension.
The first 5 races, you were holding back your excitement. because you were like, this is
Well,
my team.
I mean-
How can I not be proud of what they did? They completely redesigned the car. They
there was
came
also
in.
the Horner thing though, so I was trying to be like, oh, Horner, but
Do I want to associate with this?
But no, I mean, but this was before Adrian said he was leaving, right? Which we talked about last week. There was some impact on that. I mean, I think right now, Max said this after the race. He said, we have to change the whole car to get back to winning ways.
That is crazy. I mean, you saw it.
You're 1 year out from the untouchable, most competitive, best designed car in F1 history.
Correct.
You're 1 year out from that.
Yes. What happened?
You're a half a season out from that.
What happened? Oh, your lead designer left.
Oh,
that's crazy. No, it had nothing to do with it. We're a team of people. We're a team of people. We've been organizing for this. It just happens to be that when Andrea Newey left, everything fell apart. Yeah.
I mean, Max has not won in the last 6 races. He was 22 seconds back at his home Grand Prix last week. He was 37 back this week in 6th place. There was bad pit stops. There was engine problems now. And there was like just bad pace. I mean,
yeah,
it was a
it's going to be
bushfire of a race.
It was a dumpster fire.
Yeah,
it's going to be a great Red Bull drama-soaked weekend when it starts with an article about Max's dad, Jos Verstappen, telling the world that Max told Red Bull that they needed to change the car like 6 or 7 races ago, and sure enough, Max then confirms it after the race in the press conferences that the car just needs to be completely changed. He was barely hanging on this week.
Oh, yeah.
Engine, like you said, engine problems,
yep.
Rear wheel not coming off properly. And then you had Perez in an endless dogfight with Russell. It was just confusing.
I mean, their qualifying was atrocious. Max was 7th. Checo was 8th. I mean, think about that for a second. Red Bull's qualifying in 7th and 8th.
That is wild.
Last year, we thought, okay, they are going to dominate until the new regs.
Correct.
Till the new regs.
Correct.
And then, obviously, this year, everything has changed. McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes.
FIA and Formula One are taking a very deep breath right now. They're saying, thank God our regulations actually work.
I know. It only took a couple of years. But, yeah, I mean, I think days like today don't help Red Bull make their case to Max to stay with us.
100%.
No, we've still got the best team. We've still got the best car. No, you don't.
No, both
you don't
their
have
drivers.
the fastest car.
No,
you don't have the best team,
and both your drivers finished outside of the top 5. We're not talking about Aston Martin punching above their weight.
No.
We're not talking about a good slippery Williams. We're talking about Red Bull. One of the most well-oiled, bad teams in the whole history of Formula One. And they are now hemorrhaging points. It's damage control time for Red Bull.
This isn't a one-off race where Max has a bad result. Like Monaco, he was in 6th place. But let me just read a couple of his results prior to that. China, he was 1st. Miami, he was 2nd. Imola, he was 1st. And then Monaco, he was 6th. So that's a one-off.
Right.
And then back to 1st place in Canada, back to 1st place in Spain, right? So you can be like, okay, 6th place, one-off. Well, guess what? Today was the worst finish since Monaco.
Dang.
But then also, this isn't a one-off. He's literally, the last 6 races has been 5th, 2nd, 5th, 4th, 2nd, and 6th.
Yep.
Some of those, he's not even close to a podium. Man. So this isn't a one-off. This isn't a blip. There's something fundamentally wrong at Red Bull.
They've done something. They've brought upgrades, and none of them have seemed to work.
Well, a lot of folks are saying the upgrades were really just downgrades, and they put them further back.
It's so weird what is going on there. I don't understand,
dude,
how this
can
happen.
This not be an Adrian Newey absence thing? Like, how can this not be attached to that?
How can it not be the internal drama finally like catching up? What it seems like is there is a cancer inside of Red Bull and it's eating its way from the inside out. We didn't see the evidence of the tumors growing until recently. the last 10 races for them have been forgetful.
I mean, they've wanted to forget them. I mean, I think Red Bull came into this season riding high on last year, their dominance, and just that car, they improved it a bit. We thought it was going to even be better, and then things just went south.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're right. There was a certain kind of gap they had to the rest of the teams. There was a certain dominance they had, and they haven't continued to develop. They've regressed, and the other teams have accelerated their development and have just blown past them.
Yeah.
And so,
but I don't think it's just development, Ben. We looked at really poor strategy today.
Oh,
we looked at a team that nails their pit stop one after another, after another. All of them.
Yeah.
Max's, I think, was like 6.5 seconds.
Yeah. Crofty didn't even say anything about that. I was like, wait, Crofty, hang on a second.
You can't just breeze by
that Max just had a freaking eternity in the pit stops?
It's crazy. This is just not... And we're still at a place now. I guess my question is this. Number one.
Yes.
Williams, we'll get there in a minute, replaces Logan midseason because Logan obviously crashed the last race, and it was the last straw.
All the brand new parts on fire.
And I'm not comparing Logan Sargent to Perez, but I'm comparing Logan Sargent to Perez. Perez, the last 33 races.
It's a long time.
Since Miami of 2023, not 2024, Miami of 2023, has not out-qualified Max.
Yeah, that's a very long time.
Recently, he has held positions in the last two races, or maybe gained slightly. We're not...
That's very recent because
that's very, very recent. This whole season, it's been abysmal.
Yeah, it's been rough for him.
And one of the reasons why we're looking at a three-way fight right now for the championship is because Checo's been nowhere this season.
Yes.
Do you think Red Bull's actually going to hold on to him, or do you think they'll just wait until the Disney Plus documentary releases and then flick him after that?
Here's my question. Are we in the racing business, or are we in the Disney Plus documentary business?
Ask Lance Stroll. There are some things in this world, even in the most competitive sport, that even money and influence can keep you in.
Which is so frustrating.
It would not surprise me if it was
Red Bull had a competitive team. They have a good driver, Max. They do not have a competitive team.
No.
And they haven't for a long time. You're exactly right to call it. That is why there is a three-way race for the constructors.
Correct.
And we love that. That's fantastic. 100%. But as a team, if you are having...
It's got to be the main point of discussion between the owners.
How can we not talk about this? How can we not say, listen, Checo is going to lose us the Constructors Championship. He's going to lose it for us.
Checo has lost them the Constructors Championship.
It's gone. It's done. If your job isn't to win the drivers, it's to win the constructors. If that's your one job and you can't do it, I love Checo. Go find someone else who will.
Correct.
Someone else who can. Because guess what? Checo's job isn't to win.
Yes.
We've known that for a while. Checo didn't know it last year at the beginning because he actually won a couple races, but that's his job, and he's settled into that. But he isn't doing that fundamental function now. And McLaren's going to overtake you. Ferrari is nipping at your heels. And you've got to have a number two
100%
who can deliver the constructors. So I don't know why they haven't done what Williams has done and just said, hey,
we're done.
We love you. It's been great. The one thing you were supposed to do, you can't do.
Right. You've made a ton of money, and we've made a ton of money with you.
Yeah. But
great. That's not what the sport is really about. The sport is about performance.
It's about performance.
And you're not performing.
No.
And so we have to move on. Where is the teeth from Red Bull? Where are the horns, baby? I want to experience the horns of the bull. And they've been shaved down. They're not here anymore.
Here's something that I think is really interesting. Can I get philosophical?
Go Philly.
Kind of personal for a second. So
let's wind it down. Put on some Sade and let's get personal.
We've got a little bit dimmer lights in the studio
Sade, as if anyone knows what that is. Gosh, I'm so old.
So, in those moments in your life when you're doing really well, you got a lot of confidence, right?
Yep.
Let's say you're in a leadership position and you're just crushing it. It's really easy to enforce the rules when you're seen as the rule keeper.
Right.
Now,
and the fruit of what you're doing dictates a life of following those rules.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. Oh, if I want those results, then yes, I will obey these things.
When there starts to be some question marks around your own performance.
Correct.
And I'm going to Christian Horner right now, regardless if it happened or not. When there's question marks, I think it gets a little bit harder sometimes to be really, really strict with the rules.
Right.
There's a period back in college when I was an RA, right? And I was one enforcing the rules. And there was some stuff that was happening in my life where it became a little harder to enforce the rules because I was
feeling a conflict about it.
I had this conflict about it, and I didn't enforce them as much.
So you're saying Horner's not feeling the horns, so he can't give the horns. I'm saying
Horner has been literally under attack this entire year. Now, there's
How
been
much more gray hair do you think he has?
investigations. They all seem to have come up to say he didn't do anything, but I think he's been sidetracked. He has been
right. And in these things, it doesn't really matter whether or not it's you do it or not. Unfortunately, these days, an investigation alone is enough to end somebody.
It hasn't ended him. So again, we'll never know if he did it or not. But I think if anything, it's taken so much of his energy away, so much of his, I don't know what the word is, but it's what's made him, that ferociousness. Right. When you look at him, the latter part of the season, he feels like a different leader. He feels like he's not the same. Totally. That edge is gone. And I think
the spice isn't there.
Yeah, I think Checo is still there because Horner isn't, in a way. He's no longer the team principal that he's always been. The ferocious, we're going to axe you. I mean, you think Albon or Gasly would still be here if Red Bull was suffering what they're suffering with Checo?
No.
But the team principal has bigger problems. And when you're fighting for your life, as he's been as a team principal,
you're almost not focused.
You're not focused on your drivers.
It's a really good point.
So anyway, that's why I think that Checo's still there. Is because Horner hasn't been. He's been somewhere else trying to, keep his career alive.
Keep his career alive.
I'm serious. And again, if he did nothing wrong, then this is terrible. What he's had to go through.
Totally.
If he did, then that's another story.
It's terrible what everyone else has had to go through. And it does bring up the question of all of the rumors that we're hearing about what it's like at Red Bull right now, that it's tense, it's uncomfortable. Like we've talked about before, mom and dad are fighting. You may not know what they're fighting about, but you feel it.
Oh yeah.
You feel that inside of it. But here's my thing. At the end of the day, you and I long to be consistent. We have our favorites. There's no secret there.
Of course.
And we have our disagreements. But I love your phrase, data doesn't lie.
It does not.
And so when you look at teammates, you look at a Lando and you look at Piastri, okay? 30 or 62 points apart, I think, is the spread there. You look at Chuck and Carlos, 33 points. Lewis and Hamilton, 26 points.
Lewis and George.
Yeah, Lewis and Hamilton. Lewis and George, 26 points.
Yeah.
You look at Fernando and Lance. Fernando at 50, Lance at less than half of that.
Yeah, 24.
At 24. You look at Max and Checo. Max at 303. Checo at less than half of that, 143. Yep. So I will say about Red Bull what I say about Aston Martin. When will this end? When will this end?
Oh, that's sober to even say that, to compare those two. But in that way,
data does not lie.
Yes. I mean,
And the rumors as to why Checo's in there, because he's the most popular driver in America, because there's this new documentary coming out about him, because he has influence over the market that they're trying to reach. I get it. The future of F1 should not be left only to who is on the grid. It should be how they're on the grid.
I really like that.
You're welcome. You can coin that phrase. Put it on a t-shirt.
I don't know when it's going to end. I think if Red Bull loses the constructors, which they will, I think they have to take a very hard look at themselves and their driver lineup.
But why?
Because
why
it'll
wait?
be their driver lineup.
Why wait is my question. Lawson did great at AlphaTauri. If you're going to put him in there in 2025 anyway, if you're going to put Danny Rick in there in 2025, which I hope to God they do because I'm not a Red Bull fan, and or Yuki, put someone in it that can do something. Get them not eight more races of experience before they go in there and drive the car next year.
If they put someone else in there, it would be hard pressed for that person to do better than Checo.
Yes, but I don't think they're at a place. They know Checo's not the dude. So why keep him in there? If you're going to bring somebody else in there, give him 9 throwaway races instead of
then they're throwing in the towel officially if they do that. They're officially saying constructors is gone. And does Red Bull really want to throw in the towel 9 races?
Unofficially, they're hemorrhaging points.
Of course they are.
Like somebody that just got slashed on their flipping aorta
of course
by a 12. It's just not going to happen. Like they need to do something.
They're going to lose the constructors.
When does showing face versus winning actually matter? Is it now?
I mean, I feel like Red Bull's been showing face for a while.
Wow, that's not my team.
Season.
You said it about your team, not me.
I'm a Max fan.
No, it's changed.
No, here's the thing.
So Lewis leaves Mercedes. I stay with Mercedes.
You're not going to stay with Mercedes.
I am staying with Mercedes. Did you see the way Kimi came out the gates this week and just went balls literally to the wall? He drove into the wall.
Here's the thing. He got.
I'm okay. All
Fastest,
18 days and 18 years and 1 day old goes into the wall.
He was fastest for like a hot second, and then his second hot lap, he literally was straight into the wall.
Fastest middle sector though on that lap. Had he finished that lap, it would have been even faster than Lewis's lap. That FP1.
Hey, he's
the
a talented
dude's
kid.
got
he's young.
grit.
He's young. He's got some speed. Red Bull. Who knows what is going to actually happen? I don't think Checo's there next year. He's done.
No.
He's not getting his 1+1. But I think he'll be there the rest of this year.
They really need to rethink what they're doing in order to stay ahead in this championship. And I think everything needs to be on the table.
Like they're it's not just their drivers now; it's their car.
That's true.
Car is lost.
That's
its
true.
way. So Max can't even resurrect that car now. And Max has been able to drive some pretty tough stallions of a car that Red Bull's thrown at him. So,
and honestly, I think if you look at the way Max is driving versus Checo right now, is that they're kind of not that far apart.
No, Checo was 8th, Max was 6th.
And Max has been able to wring the neck of that thing when it's been on a knife's edge and on rails, and it just doesn't look like it anymore. It looks like it's driving in the sand.
Yeah.
Let's talk Mercedes, because there was a bit of a mess at Monza. Russell locked up early, and it was all downhill from there. He spent the first part of the race dancing around the track with half of his wing flying all over the place.
He did. I was surprised he didn't get called in for that.
Well, the giant part of carbon fiber had fallen off before they could and gone to a safe area. Hamilton looked like he was cruising. Yeah,
Hamilton qualified 6th, and then he finished 5th. Russ qualified 3rd. He finished 7th.
This was so confusing to me because P1 Hamilton was absolutely FP1, free practice 1. He was on fire.
Yeah, Mercedes had some strong pace.
FP2, they were looking great. FP3, I think he was either one or 2 up there with Max, which then explains the whole race. And in qualifying, they were looking great.
Yeah,
throws it away in Q3, and then from there, just they couldn't keep up. They couldn't move forward.
Yeah,
it was a tough race for Mercedes. Their tires weren't doing what they thought they were going to do. Toto was saying it was a front left graining issue. I think they need to regroup because they were looking really good before the summer break.
Yeah.
And they were almost looking like they were on the trajectory to be the dominant Silver Arrows again, because it was really surprising. It looks like they were going to be the ones that were going to take it to McLaren because Red Bull was floundering and Ferrari seemed like it was kind of in no man's land.
Yeah.
But now they've kind of slipped back a little bit.
Well, not only have they slipped back, but they're performing worse than really before Monaco. So Canada was when it turned around for them. They started, getting third, fourth, first, fourth, and then, they had a string where they won 3 of 4 races. Last week, they were 8th and 7th. This week, they were 5th and 7th. These are their worst results, really, since Monaco.
Yeah,
and before.
Yeah.
So they made a turn, and they were getting podiums and they were getting wins. And in the last 2 races, they've just actually regressed quite significantly.
Yeah, Russell's race was ruined, obviously, in the first part of it.
Yeah.
But Hamilton was driving better than him this whole weekend, partly because Kimi crashed his car.
I wonder if that had anything to do with it.
So I don't know. It's hard to say if he could have taken it to him, but Hamilton had a lonely race, man. He couldn't keep up with them, and he was way ahead of the Red Bulls, and it was a weird race. Let's talk about Kimi, though, because Kimi is officially going to be a Mercedes driver starting 2025.
Yes.
Kimi Antonelli in Italy.
What do you feel, though, about, and I'm pretty sure this is solidified, only a 1-year contract. Same with George.
I mean, I'm not surprised that Kimi has a 1-year contract.
There's talks that maybe they're holding out for a max potential deal.
Look, as a Mercedes boss, I think Toto's looking at this landscape and he's looking for the next Max Verstappen. Kimi gets into the car.
Yeah.
Straight away, every other rookie we see get into cars across the board. Takes it easy, brings it in. Yeah. Kimi gets out there and starts putting purple sectors in.
It was impressive.
First lap, you're straight to the top, and you're like, what is this kid doing?
They had him on soft tires, and they probably
soft tires at Monza means very little. And his times were fire. Does the second lap. Now, honestly, I don't know. I'm not a Formula One driver. I don't think he should have done this.
I know he should.
But I appreciate the balls on this kid.
I mean, I appreciate making a statement. He did make a statement. He went fastest his first lap, and then his second lap he went into the wall.
Yeah.
2 different kinds of statements, but I think, it shows he's here to race.
Yep.
And he's here to put as fast as he can and hold nothing back.
Yep.
And that's great. We want more folks like that. I think he's going to be Piastri, where it's going to be first year, second year, and he's winning races.
Yep.
Right. Obviously, I don't think Russ was super thrilled that his car got slammed into the wall.
No. And it took valuable track time for him in both FP1 and FP2 because he didn't get out until mid-ish way through FP2, and even then there was a red flag after he got taken out, and they don't stop the clock for FP2. So he had very little track. He basically had FP3, and that was it.
Yeah.
My thought about the 1-year contract, to your original question, is Kimi in 2025, Russ's contract through 2025. 2026, Toto is looking at possibly Max Verstappen, the one who got away, coming to the team. And he's going to have to make a decision between having 2 experienced drivers, one being a multiple world champion.
Oh, yes.
The other being the one that has the potential to be, but hasn't quite shown that full grit of somebody that will make it. Case in point, the fact that
Russ or
that's
Antonelli?
Russell.
Yeah.
The fact is that Russell's behind Hamilton in the World Championship this year.
Yeah.
So if you can't beat the guy that got beat by the one that I want to bring in, Max,
you done.
Am I going to keep you, even if Kimi doesn't outscore him, but shows like an Oscar Piastri style debut season? Russ is getting flicked.
Oh yeah,
he's getting the flick.
Yeah, it would be Max and Kimi if Max says he wants to go to Mercedes. Russ is done,
and I don't think Russ knows this. But I don't think Russell knows. You watch the press conference with him, Toto, and Kimi, and Russ is sitting there like this.
I'm your
just
new guy.
Smiling, and he's like,
I'm the number one.
Yeah, number one. Yeah, I think he's so caught up in the narrative that he's written in his own mind that he's Mercedes number one driver and how he's going to take Kimi under his wing, that they're going to have some freaking Lando Norris Piastri overtakes first season.
Dude.
Toto, because the reality is Russ should be the one taking it to Norris. Russ should be the one taking it to Max, and he's not. He never has. He never has.
Yeah, that's really well said. Yeah, Russ is gone at the very moment.
A whiff
Max
that Kimi has potential.
He wants to go to Mercedes.
Well, no, it is dependent on whether or not Kimi can prove himself. Because Kimi could pull a Logan, and he could come in. Logan won F2 races.
Kimi's not going to pull a Logan.
You don't know that.
I mean, we don't know anything, but I don't think Toto would be this excited about a driver. Logan was.
You say that, but people were excited about a few different drivers because they decimated in F2, which, by the way, Kimi hasn't really done.
Yeah, no, he's not.
He hasn't really done that.
Yeah,
Magnussen, Logan, Mick Schumacher,
Mick,
Jolyon Palmer. I mean, the list goes on of drivers that were like, man, these guys were killer in F2 and just didn't quite cut it in F1.
Yeah, I mean,
F1 is a beast.
We'll see. Maybe George will end up being king of the hill at Mercedes, but if Kimi is an Oscar-esque driver, then yeah, George is done.
Mm-hmm.
And if Red Bull continues the downward spiral, I think Max goes. He goes somewhere else.
I think Max goes. If this happens, I don't think Max is hanging around for 2026.
No, and Mercedes is the only place he could go.
Yeah, I don't think he would go anywhere
Ferrari,
else unless McLaren won't take him. They've got who they love.
Ferrari's got their people.
I don't think he would go to Ferrari.
No. I mean, clearly they've got Hammy, they've got Chuck. You know. Yeah, Mercedes.
Mercedes is done. Another Mercedes power team that did really well this week for them would be Williams. They proved that miracles still happen even in the 24 season.
I think last week I did say Williams was going to score a point. They scored 2 points.
I believe you did.
Because I was like, oh, there's Monza. They're,
slippery.
Fast on straight line.
Yeah, and I disagreed with you.
You did.
But here we are. And you were right, and I'm wrong.
Here we are. Williams. Williams also had some fun things to say about their driver options.
Okay, yeah. So Williams coming into this, Williams has been a bit of a sore subject for the F1 Rolling Start podcast because last year we couldn't stop singing Williams' praise.
Oh yeah,
they were what every American loves.
Yeah,
they were the underdog. They were going outside of the lines. They were just
phenomenal.
Picking a strategy that was kind of crazy on the surface and just running with it.
Yeah.
And this year they've kind of been weird. Like they have a balanced car that's not only fast in a straight line now, but just were performance-wise trash.
Yeah. Haas is handedly beating them.
I mean, it's embarrassing.
Yes.
But Williams, we had Albon holding it down today for some points. We had their new 9-driver-only contract. 9 drives this guy gets.
Yeah.
Cola Pinto. I don't know how to say his name.
Yeah.
Having a solid debut.
Let's call him Franco.
Bringing the car home. We'll call him Franco. Good old Frank. He didn't crash it into the world.
No.
He's not setting the world on fire, but he's definitely they're definitely punching above their weight, both of them this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say hats off to them overall for a good weekend. But prior to coming into this, announcing that they flicked Logan Sargent, which we are aligned with, even though we are the American F1 podcast. Logan,
we never liked Logan.
Goodbye. They flicked him after his crash at Zandvoort, and they brought in this young guy. And in the press conference, it was posed to James a question as to why he didn't pick a few other drivers.
Yes.
One being Liam Lawson, another being Mick Schumacher, and then Franco, our boy Frank.
Yeah.
And he said about Liam something that was very interesting to me that will harken back to what we were just talking about, Sergio making it for the rest of the season or not. We couldn't come to an agreement for the next 9 races about Liam's availability.
Oh, that's really interesting.
That's interesting. So Liam immediately is no longer an option, according to James. So he said it was clear to me that was not going to be an option for us. The other option we had was Mick Schumacher or Franco, and we went with Franco. He's showing promise in F2. Then the further questioning and pressed on that was like, well, Mick has the experience. He drove for 2 seasons with Haas. And then this is the quote.
Yeah, he cut the car in half at Monaco.
Honestly, insane. I never forget that. This is the quote from James Vowles, referencing both Logan and Mick Schumacher here. He says, I think both, Logan and Mick, would fall into the category of good, not special. I think we have to be straightforward about this. Mick isn't special. He would just have been good. I think we have come with a lot more experience. He would have come with a lot more experience than Franco does, but not special. End quote. That wasn't me. That was James Vowles. He could come on this podcast.
And his last name is Schumacher as well.
His last name is Schumacher. And you said you're not special. You're good.
God.
That is crazy.
But it's true.
It's 100% true.
Isn't. I mean, good.
He referenced that Mick's done incredible work for Mercedes in the simulator, incredible work for Alpine in the simulator.
Yeah,
but as far as F1, he proved
simulator.
He basically said Mick is Logan and Logan is Mick. So why would I trade one Logan for another Logan?
Yeah, no,
which is brutal to think about.
I was really surprised Mercedes signed Mick. I think it has something to do with his last name.
Well, I think Toto has an affinity for Mick.
Yeah, sure. But like that guy's never going to race for Mercedes.
No, absolutely.
Ever.
Not.
So he's just going to be a reserve driver. That's going to be his spot. So yeah.
We know that because they gave Kimi the seat over him.
Yeah.
He was their reserve driver.
Of course. Yeah,
that's kind of why you're there, is to take over when one of your drivers leaves.
And that was never a conversation.
They were never going to do it.
Anywhere in the F1 world.
They were never going to do it.
So he is someone who can race a car.
And they went with Jack Doohan over Mick at Alpine as well.
He's good.
But he's not special. End quote.
Does make me like James more.
It does make me like James more.
Thank God for
Williams
someone who speaks
is
their mind.
Back. Give me some more Williams. Give me some more quotes. But overall, Albon scores points. Strong P9. Impressive debut for Frank, finishing P12, staying out of trouble.
Yeah.
And that's more we can say about Kimi.
Here's the thing. Sergio's one job is to help Red Bull win the Constructors.
Yep.
The second Williams driver's one job is just to not catch the car on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why Logan lost his
job. And be
job.
close to Albon. And he was. He was quite close.
Be competitive. Don't trash the car. And Logan just
time after time after time. Williams shows a little bit of promise this weekend. Some resilience. They're making the most of their opportunities as they come. And that's what you have to do when you're at that point level.
Yeah.
Which then takes us to...
Can we talk about the true king of the midfield and the fake king of the midfield? Can I combine those two real quick? I'll talk about the fake one first.
Why do I feel like this is coming at me?
Alpine, in your words, is going to once again rule the midfield. They were nowhere today. They were 14th and 15th, nowhere close to points, mediocre at best. They are not going to catch Haas. It's mathematically impossible at this point. It isn't, but it is, because there's 6 other teams that can score points. Alpine is nowhere near the midfield this year, but who is Aston.
Yeah,
Aston is the struggle bus. They are
the new Alpine,
the curse of the midfield, where they can't move up and they won't move back. They could literally stop racing for the rest of the season. They're the new Alpine.
You're right.
And Alpine is the new Haas. And I have nothing else to say about either of those teams.
Kick is the new Haas, so you're wrong there. Kick is 100% the new Haas.
No, Kick is worse than Haas.
No.
If there was an 11th
Haas
place,
2023, you can't get worse than Haas 2023.
No, Haas in 2023 got 12 points. They got 12 points. Kick still has 0 points.
Okay, well, maybe they're a little worse than Haas. Yeah, I mean, Alpine
would be in 8th place right now.
Alpine today, they split their strategy. They swinged, they missed. It was, I mean, Ocon had a decent run. Gasly had brake issues. It's just the same old with them. Okay. They're back to the drawing board again. They're changing their leadership again. They finished P14 and P15 again. It's just one failed strategy after another, one failed leadership role after another, one failed car after another, one failed engine after another.
Dude, they have scored in the points twice in the last 6 races between both those drivers.
It's brutal.
It's
just brutal.
They cannot move forward.
The sad thing is that I would expect Alpine to be in the midfield.
They were like 4th place or fighting for 3rd place a couple of years ago.
Well, that's not really the sad part, actually, if I'm being honest. The sad part is I would not expect Aston Martin to be in the midfield.
Well, that is
devastating.
Depressing. Alonso, remember that?
Alonso should not be finishing his career out in a puff of mediocre smoke.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking at today. They brought the speed of a minivan in the school zone, dude. It was embarrassing. They are lost in the sauce. Alonso almost grabbed a point. He came up short. Stroll was out there on a Saturday flipping drive, as always, probably paying his black card. No, his assistant probably does. No, his assistant's assistant probably does that. Or daddy picks it up. I'm not entirely sure. The team needs to find some more speed, and they need to find it quickly, because right now, they're more of a mid-pack bandit than the front row fighters that they want to be.
Well, last year, they were on a tear. They were the 2nd fastest car last year for the first part of the season, for sure. They struggled toward the second part of the season. They fell off. This year, they've just fallen completely out of any competition. And yeah, they are 5th place. They will end 5th place. Haas and Visa Cash App are not going to catch them, but they are nowhere near Mercedes in 4th place. And the energy I get from them is just that kind of, it's like the season's over.
Yeah.
Kravitz was talking about how he was trying to interview Stroll, couldn't get more than a 5-word response out of him in the media pen, and just is like, this guy doesn't want to be here,
dude. Lance Stroll finished in last place today. The only person that finished behind him was Yuki, because his car DNF'd. It was Lance Stroll, Guan Yu Zhou, Nico Hülkenberg, with as many penalties as you could possibly get. Valtteri, Pierre, Esteban, Daniel Ricciardo, and crazy. Franco in the Williams.
That's crazy to think that Franco was finishing ahead of Stroll.
I mean, dude,
unreal.
Fernando Alonso was in P11. At least he was scrapping for a point.
Well, Alonso,
not dragging his feet at the back of the line.
Alonso, you can always count on to fight. This year has been a bummer. We haven't seen. Do you remember last year, Miami? Alonso literally was smelling the flowers in the media pen in between interviews, because he was just a different kind of guy. He was enjoying every little ounce of just life. This year, that spark is just not there because he's in a car that is atrocious. So yeah, Aston, Alpine, both lost. Kick, I really don't have a ton to say except that they finished ahead of one of the Astons, 18th, 16th. I don't have anything else besides that.
I'm not ready to go on because this is why
we can park back there.
We need to have a little Nepo baby section again.
Let's do it.
Because he's licking his wounds in P19. Why? Because I didn't end where I wanted to, but I know that I can have as many more races as I want. Fernando Alonso, his dad was like a mining shaft explosive dude, like working class family, racing, and was not even in their thing. And he's out there fighting like this is his first F1 race ever for P11. You've got people who are bettering themselves all the time for this. Even Max, who would have every excuse to be a Nepo baby.
Oh,
hasn't even gotten close. I mean, the dude was taking vacations with Michael Schumacher and Mick Schumacher when he was younger.
He could have
super yachts
out after in Japan last year and never raced another race the entire
season. But
he's
out there trying to better himself every single race.
Yes.
Fighting. When he was at the front, he was fighting himself. When he's behind, he's fighting everybody around him.
Yes.
Always trying to get better. And that is respectable for him. When
is.
You're in P19 and then you don't want to talk about it after because you're just upset, you are the one in the car. We know the car could have been P12 or P11 because that's where Alonso put it.
Yes.
But you put it behind a Williams, 2 kicks.
That takes some special talent to put it behind 2 kicks.
You've got to try to be slower than Guan Yu Zhou.
You just have to wave him past you. Just no, pass me on the right. It's okay.
It's
stunning.
It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable to me, and it actually is beginning to make me more.
But nothing's
going
to change.
And that's the frustrating part.
Of course. It's just we'll rage against the machine until something changes.
Great band.
I know.
Kick, we talked about enough. They're crap. It's awful. I was really excited. I thought that maybe they would get my elusive point that I want them to get this season.
It's not going to happen.
But I think we're going to kick them to the curb instead. P16,
Very
P19. Nice. Bottas tried a little something different on the long stint, but honestly, it was just a terrible weekend.
The most exciting thing about Kick was that there was a fan that showed up
looking exactly like Valtteri Bottas. That was crazy.
Valtteri, and he looked incredible. That was like the most exciting thing about Kick this entire weekend.
Valtteri.
Have we talked about Haas?
We haven't talked in depth about Haas, but before we go there, let's talk about RB.
Yeah.
Because their strategy today was go big or go home. Except they forgot to go big. Sonoda ended. They came with a bunch of new upgrades. Everyone was like, let's keep an eye on RB V-Carb. So sorry, V-Carb. And it was pretty bad. 10-second penalty for Danny Ricciardo. So Danny Ricciardo gets a 5-second, goes into the pit. And the rules of that is that the mechanics cannot touch the car. Touch it.
Yeah.
In any way, shape, or form, for 5 seconds. They can't change tires. They can't even balance it. These guys practice time after time after time after time so that when these stops come in, it's muscle memory.
Yes.
So Danny's car comes in, and as it gets close to them, the mechanic literally just reaches out and touches the hem of his front wing and immediately recoils his hand and goes, and that was it.
That was done.
The 5 seconds continues.
Yes.
They do the pit stop. He has like a 7 or 8 second long pit stop opposed to like a 2.1.
Yeah.
Goes out and immediately gets a 10-second penalty because they did not serve the original 5-second correctly. Danny was done.
Yeah, he was done. Yeah, he finished.
Now he drove back to P13, which is impressive when you think about Lance Stroll didn't have a 10-second penalty, but he ended in P19.
Yeah.
So there could have been some pace there. And then Yuki got taken out by damage. I believe it was a collision between him and Hulk. I can't remember.
Yep.
And it was just terrible.
This did come up Yuki has had terrible luck at Monza.
Oh, he hates Monza. He's got to hate Monza.
I mean,
he's got to look back on this and just be like, yeah, no, that was a trash track.
Yeah, he can't either finish it or start it, and that's been the last like several years for him. So, man, unfortunately for VCARB, but
the Italian-based team was thanking the pasta gods that Monza is not technically their home race.
Oh yeah.
Because it was not a good week for VCARB. Last but certainly not least is our friends down at Haas. Our American team based right here in North Carolina.
Oh, yeah. Mag gets 10th place, gets a critical point, but gets disqualified from next race because of a crash with Gasly.
Yes. Magnussen decided to collect points today like things on sale at Costco.
Here's the thing about Mag. I appreciate Magnussen. He does get into some trouble somewhat consistently. And I think the FIA is just kind of like,
they don't like him.
Here's more points. And he was very clear. He's like, listen, I don't understand why I got the penalty I got.
Yes.
Neither of our races was disrupted. There was no damage. There was a slight touch. We missed the corner, but that was it. Like, what's going on? So I think he honestly has a point. One of the things he said is the proverbial they, don't want racing. And that's why they keep penalizing me.
Which has been a point you and I bring up. Have these safety regulations, have these guidelines, have these rules of engagement that the governing body has put into place, have they overstepped to the point where we don't get overtakes like we saw with Lando and Piastri today? Now, we all say that is the overtake of the season, and I don't think you and I would be the only ones that would say that.
No.
But you will not get overtakes like that unless you allow people to race.
Yeah.
Because had they had made contact, what would they have gotten?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, penalties potentially.
If you don't want contact, then we can have some rules of engagement. I agree with some safety, the whole moving under braking. I get that. You're going way too fast at that point, and you lose control as soon as you put brakes on this car. Yeah. So that makes sense. But the whole amount of distance, this, that, or the other, there's got to be a fine line to where one of the things that bugs me on a race weekend is when they come over. He squeezed me off. He didn't leave me enough room. Yeah. He was in front of my front axle. Like, dude, just go out there.
Just go race.
And race. I just love that Haas brings the drama, baby.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. We're racing. Mag's racing. Drivers are fine. Cars are fine. Everyone finished the race. I think sometimes the penalty needs to reflect the crime, if it can be stated that way. And there was nothing to see here.
No.
2 cars touched. Mag
no damage.
went in. There's no damage. They're fine. So I think it is the FIA just has something with Mag. And Mag, he's a bit brash. Like he probably doesn't help himself any, But at the same time, I can get his frustration on this point. Like, I don't think there should have been that stiff of a penalty.
No, I don't think. I mean, he had made you were sharing with me before we started recording that he had made a good point in regards to Hülkenberg's penalty in comparison to his. Like, Hülkenberg was doing 300 kilometers an hour when they had their come together moment with Yuki, and he got a 5-second penalty.
Yeah,
they barely touched. Magnussen gets a 10.
It doesn't make any sense,
and it doesn't make much sense. They're penalty magnets. I think they snagged a point even with a 10-second slap on the wrist, which is something to think about.
Yeah, huge for them.
That's massive. Their car's still doing better. They're scrappy. They're rough around the edges, and that's why I love Haas
this year. They really are doing phenomenal. They're in 7th firmly, and they've got the chance to finish in 6th.
100%.
Which is incredible when you think about it. So again, they are racing Visa Cash App. And that was who Hulk
and successfully holding them off.
And they're successfully holding them off. So again, Hulk came together with Tsunoda. Guess what? That's their competition right now. So you're going to see more of those scraps with them.
Because even if you were to take his 10-second penalty away and you take Danny's 15-second penalty away, Danny was still nowhere in comparison to Mac.
Yeah.
So I think it was a really great weekend for them. It still shows that car has way more pace than anyone expected. And I still think that they're not going to go backwards. They're only going to go forwards.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited because obviously we've got a 3-way race at the top, but we also have some races towards the bottom.
Yeah, 100%.
Which are actually, like last year, we only had races towards the bottom of the field. But this year, we have legitimate races, and Haas is part of that. And I'm excited to see.
Which is so funny because in years prior, there was no race at the top. It was just 2 teams. The midfield was wild. And then the back of the pack was just atrocious. Yeah. And now we have like back of the pack scrapping, middle of the pack scrapping, and the top of the field scrapping.
Incredible.
Everyone's scrapping. Well, Kick does. I think they're just going to become an F2 team. But is Audi freaking out? I'd be freaking out if I were Audi. Mattia came on the screen at one point. Did you see this?
No.
In one of the, I think it was the free practices. He came on the screen and literally looks at the screen. He's on it, looks at the camera, and just turns away slowly and goes and walks into the back. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? I should have stayed in my vineyard in my tiny Fiat drinking wine with Gunther.
I know.
It was incredible. It was a phenomenal race. It was really fun.
It was great.
Massive kudos for Monza for extending the straight another 100 yards because
it's what we needed.
It made such an incredible race. Last year it was honestly kind of boring. It was a little boring, but this year it was great. Full of drama, full of overtakes, full of scrapping up and down the field. I loved it.
What F1's all about.
Next week we have Baku.
I think we're 2 weeks, right?
Oh, 2 weeks.
It's 2 weeks.
2 weeks. We have Baku,
your favorite race,
wonderful world of Azerbaijan, the country where you can buy high standings in Western society and hide all of your terrible wars that are going on.
There's
a couple on the F1 track. We love them. And we're going to be watching that race and calling it out, and it'll be good. What are your predictions?
Honestly, hard to say. That's such a kind of a funky track too, street track. Singapore as well. It's hard to know if Ferrari's here to stay.
Agreed.
I think McLaren will both be on the podium. This is now just a question of who's going to be on there with them.
Yeah.
Will it be Merc? Will it be Ferrari? Will it be Red Bull?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna go Lando, Piastri, and Max again. Okay. Because that did so well for me.
Yeah, that did really good for you. I'm gonna say Lando, Piastri, Hamilton.
Oh, okay, nice.
So
shows our allegiance, I guess.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. The short calls.
It does.
If you made it this far, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Go ahead and like, subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Love to engage with you, chat with you. We're obsessed with F1. I'm assuming you are if you're listening to this. We'll see you next time.
See you, folks.